Hello, welcome to another video. Today, as you can tell from the title and the thumbnail, we are going through my top 10 middle grades from 2021. I'm excited to talk about these. I love a good middle grade. However, it is no secret that it kind of takes a lot for a middle grade to get 5 stars from me, and I've been thinking about why this is. I give a lot of middle grades 4 stars. I love middle grades. They make me feel happy inside, and a lot of them get 4 stars from me. For a middle grade to get 5 stars, it really does have to be something like that wows me, and I think that is naturally because I am drawn more towards the complex adult fantasies, which is something that middle grades obviously don't have the same level of complexity as an adult novel would. That is no fault of the book, ever, and a middle grade getting 4 stars is fantastic. A middle grade getting 5 stars is next level for me. But this is just a personal rating thing. Never is it any fault of the book. And very often when I give a middle grade a lower rating, I do go on to explain myself to say, like, it would have been perfect for its target audience. This is a me thing. I'm rating it. I'm not a 7-year-old. Do you know what I mean? So I can still recommend books that I don't personally give 4 or 5 stars. However, that being said, I just wanted to explain that because I don't give middle grades 5 stars very often, but I am a big lover of middle grade and a big pusher of middle grade, and I'm pretty well known for my love of middle grade, I want to say. Especially with Middle Grade Monthly with Gavin. But yeah, I just felt like I needed to explain that a little bit because only one book from this list got 5 stars. Of all the middle grades I read this year, one of them got 5 stars. The others on here all got 4, and they all came above 8 on Crowfall. I did kind of stop doing Crowfall ratings halfway through the year, however, I have gone back through my middle grades to pick out the ones that would have got above 8 on Crowfall. But yeah, only one of them got 5 stars. With that all being said, let's just get on with it and start off with this list. I'll obviously save the 5-star till last. First up, I have Vanishing of Griffins by S.A. Patrick. This is the sequel to A Darkness of Dragons, which I also absolutely loved. But this one I loved just that little bit more. This follows Patch Brightwater, who is a piper, and he accidentally gets himself into a situation where he plays a forbidden, highly illegal tune on his pipe, which sends him off into all sorts of trouble. He is wanted, he is being hunted down, he befriends a Dracogryph and a girl who is cursed into the shape of a rat, and is on this wild adventure to find the villainous Hamlin Piper who is possibly on the loose again, whilst also being wanted himself for accidentally playing that really illegal song and getting himself in a lot of trouble. It's wild, it's wacky, it's a lot of fun, it's pretty chaotic, but the sort of chaos that I really like in a middle grade. Sometimes the chaos can be like just a little bit too high for me, where it becomes a little bit like slightly what word do I want? Slightly like you can't understand it, it's so chaotic, whereas this is just fun chaos and you know what's going on. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I love the friendships that have been built through this story and the way the world is developing and all of the creatures that we've come to see and how the story of the Hamlin Piper has been developing. The third one to this, I think, has a title, but I can't remember it. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but I'm really looking forward to the third and final book in this series. But yeah, this one was fantastic. Next up is a series I've raved about quite a lot this year, and that is the Adventures on Trains series, specifically Murder on the Safari Star. I've picked this one as my favourite. It was pretty close between this and Kidnap on the California Comet. I really liked both of those. Highland Falcon Thief was brilliant, and then I just think that Kidnap on the California Comet and Murder on the Safari Star upped it just that little bit more. Didn't like Danger at Dead Man's Pass quite as much. But these are fantastic adventure stories. If you want an adventure that travels across the world and is just fun but mysterious, these are great. Because these are basically mysteries on trains. It follows a young boy called Hal who goes on these adventures on trains with his uncle, who is a travel journalist, and whilst they're on these adventures, crimes keep happening. There was a theft on the Highland Falcon, a kidnap on the California Comet, a murder on the Safari Star, and I won't say what is in the fourth one because it's not clear in the title. But Hal has this passion for drawing, and his, like, perception of what's going on around him is really great, and these skills help him to solve the crimes that happen on the trains that he's on. So he's like a little detective on these adventures on trains. It's fantastic. The illustrations are great, and it really adds something to the story, so if you want to read these, I would recommend reading them physically. However, the audiobooks are also great, but all the illustrations are fantastic. And there's one particular illustration that takes place in every book, which is when you get the full cast of characters, so you have all of the suspects in one room. It's my favourite illustration in every book. I really like these, and I am looking forward to continuing this series. Next up, we have Queen Vashti Hardy with Crowfall. I love Vashti Hardy, one of my favourite middle grade authors. I love her books, her worlds, her writing, the like steampunk vibes that she rolls into her worlds is just top notch. Absolutely love it. This one follows Orrin Crowfall, who has lived on, is it Ironhold? Yeah, Ironhold all his life, which is a very mechanical island. This island is all built around a tree at its centre, and this tree means everything to this island. However, something is going wrong. The island is dying. Yeah, I didn't want to say what... spoilers. It's on the blurb, it's fine. The island is dying. Something is happening, things are changing, and everyone is at risk, and Orrin has a passion for fixing things, and he wants to fix this island, which ends up on a much bigger discovery mission than you'd think. Absolutely fantastic. Loved it. So compelling. Really not what I expected going into it, so I won't say too much more than that. I love Vashti Hardy so very much, so... not surprised she made the list. Next up, I have Dead Voices by Catherine Arden. I am not a horror reader. Middle grade horror. Ooh. This freaked me out. This gave me chills. I was well and truly spooked when reading this. Probably didn't help that I read it in the middle of the night in one sitting, but added to the atmosphere. This is book 2 in the Small Spaces series. I don't know if the series has a name, but we've got Small Spaces, Dead Voices, and Dark Waters. This is book 2 in that, and this one takes place in a ski resort. So we've got Ollie, Coco, and Brian, who are 3 friends. We follow the same 3 friends that we did from the first book. Go to a ski resort for a winter holiday, but there are voices around. This one was very ghosty. I think this one freaked me out a little bit more because it was more attuned to what I find freaky, whereas the first one didn't freak me out so much because it's very much scarecrows. Like, if you're scared of scarecrows, the first one is freaky. This is more like ominous voices and a bit ghosty, and that definitely freaks me out more. They have a terrifying trip to the ski resort, which ends up with them going into this, like, alternate dimension. I don't want to say too much because spoilers. Terrifying encounter with another dimension. It's there. And the mysterious ghost hunter, that's there as well. There is conveniently a mysterious ghost hunter at this ski resort as well. So they kind of team up with him to work out what's going on with all these ghosts. And it's terrifying. But I love it, and I can't wait to read Dark Waters. Definitely should have read it around spooky season, but it's fine. I think I read this one in like March, so fit for any time of year. But yeah, I loved this book, and if you want spooky middle grades, I recommend these. Following these spooky middle grade vibes, next up I have The Bewitching of Evelyn Jones by Phil Hicks. I loved The Haunting of Evelyn Jones. Out of the 2, I think I prefer The Haunting, but I read that last year. Or in 2020, this one's 2021. This follows a young Evelyn Jones who is obsessed with anything spooky. If there's a spooky book that she can read, she wants to know. If she can find out some like ominous history of a place, she wants to know. And she goes on a trip to a little village with her mum during like a half-term break or something, rented a holiday cottage for the summer. And near the holiday cottage is a witch's stone circle. And she gets into the history of this stone circle and the history of this village and meets a young girl called Hazel, who is very mysterious, and Evelyn kind of falls under Hazel's spell, and there is something odd about Hazel, but we're also exploring the witchiness of this village and the history of this stone circle and everything going on. I really like these books. Is there more? I hope there's more. Oh yeah, there will. The Vanishing of Evelyn Jones is the next one. Wow, I am excited for that. I really like these books. I like Evelyn Jones as a character and the spooky vibes, but her curiosity and her like drive to get into the spooky is really fun. If you haven't read these, again, really recommend for spooky season. Following on a similar sort of note, clearly I like spooky middle grade mysteries. We have The Mystery of Black Hollow Lane by Julia Noble. This one I think I had a particular fondness for because it's set where I was born, so like all of the settings and stuff I recognise. It's close to family, but also I really like the story and the mystery of this one. This one follows a young girl called Emily who is shipped off to a boarding school. I can't remember the name of the boarding school. Wellsworth. There we go. Wellsworth boarding school. Her father vanished many years before and her mother is a sort of celebrity, so she doesn't get to spend a lot of time with her mother. So she's shipped off to this boarding school at Wellsworth. But before she goes, she finds a mysterious chest of coins in her house, which have a note from her father who may have gone to the same boarding school. When she gets to the school, she finds that these symbols that are in these coin medallion things are also around the school, and I don't know how much is a spoiler. Okay, what I was gonna say is not in the blurb, so I will consider that a spoiler, but there may be some clues at Wellsworth about what these medallions are and how it's related to her father and possibly what happened to him. Great fun, really quick read, and set close to home, so I had a particular fondness for this. But again, those slightly spooky vibes, I like a slightly spooky middle grade mystery. Next up, I have Orphans of the Tide by Sean Murray. This is a fairly recent read that really took me by surprise and was not entirely what I was expecting at all. From the very beginning, there is something that happens that just sets the scene for what you can expect from this book. Is it a spoiler? Yes, I won't say what it is that happens, but it happens right at the beginning. And it just, for me, set the tone for the entire book about how it was going to take me by surprise, how dark and kind of grim the atmosphere in this world is. The basis of this is that a mysterious boy washes up on the shore of this island. On this island, there is this belief that there is an enemy, a common enemy that has the power to ruin everything, and they believe that this boy is the enemy. However, our main character Ellie, who is a fearless inventor, believes that he is not the enemy, and she is on a mission to save him from the fate that the village would otherwise have for him, because they think that he is this big, terrible evil. But besides that whole plot, as strange and intriguing and amazing as the plot is, the atmosphere of this island, this world, the last city in the world, it's just such an incredible atmosphere. It's grim, it's dark, it's dreary, it's pretty hopeless, but I just think it was written so fantastically. I can't wait to read the sequel to this one, which I do not yet have. The sequel is out for this one, right? Why do I not own that? I need to get on that. But yeah, I'm excited to continue this series. Thoroughly loved this one. Next up is a very recent read for me, and that is Starfell, Willow Moss and the Lost Day. I think Emma's going to be pretty happy to see this one on here. This was fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed this, had a fantastic time. This one follows a young girl called Willow Moss who has like the most boring type of magic imaginable. In this world, people have magic and they all have different magical abilities, and Willow is left with what she considers like the most boring of abilities. She has the ability to find lost things, whether that's a lost sock, or I think they mention at some point lost teeth. Yeah, lost socks or wooden teeth, yeah. And that's just not all that exciting for Willow. However, there is a lost day, and it turns out that Tuesday has gone missing. So Willow has to go on an adventure to find out what happened to Tuesday and how to get Tuesday back. because Tuesday has vanished. I really enjoyed this. This was, as I said before about like the levels of chaos that I like, this was just the right level of like wacky chaos for me. It was so weird and out there, but like just the right level for me personally to enjoy it. It reminded me very much of the vibes of The Wizards of Once. I didn't personally love The Wizards of Once because its level of wackiness was just a little bit too high for me personally, but this is like just toned to my preferences in a way. So if you like that sort of level of wacky, I do think you would really enjoy this. But it was such a fun adventure, and the little cat that's not a cat was so cute, so enjoyable to read, and I very much am looking forward to continuing this series. It was just a really fun time and a super quick read, and I had a great time, so it made it to the list. Next up we have a polar fantasy, and the only polar fantasy that's made it onto this list, but we have The Republic of Birds by Jessica Miller. I read this for Polathon in 2021, obviously. I'm honestly kind of surprised that I've only got one polar fantasy on here. There were others that got 4 stars, they just didn't quite scrape 8 on Core This one did. I really enjoyed this, and this cover, it's a Carl James Mountford cover, is really pretty. I really enjoy it. This follows a young girl called Olga whose family used to live in pretty high regard, as her father was regarded highly by the Tsarina. However, he does something to be put in her bad books, and Olga and her family are kind of banished, not banished, but pretty much given the worst possible place to live and assignment for her father to work on, which brings her closer to the Republic of Birds. Now, birds in this world have been at war with humans. Like, birds and humans do not get along. And when we're saying birds, literally like seagulls and stuff. Birds and humans do not get on. There has been a war in the skies, and the, like, peace between them is pretty not great. And the birds take something from Olga. They take something very precious to her, and she needs to get it back. So Olga ends up going into the Republic of Birds to get back what the birds have taken, because she needs it back. Also in this world, magic is very much frowned upon, but Olga has some potential blossoming magical abilities, and in a world where any talk of Yagas and magic and stuff is completely frowned upon, she's a little bit scared of what that could mean as well. I really enjoyed this. I loved the magic, I loved the world, and this thing with the birds, it just was really original. I liked it a whole heckin' ton, and I recommend for Polathon. And then finally, the last book on this list, the one that got 5 stars. Any guesses? Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. This book, I think, took the world by storm this year. Not just me, not just BookTube, but this book has done wonders. And I'm pretty sure it was a debut as well, and it has done amazingly. But it's an amazing book, so I'm not surprised. Congrats to B.B. Alston, because this book is phenomenal, and I cannot wait for Amari and the Great Game. It is pre-ordered. I will have it in my hands when it is released. But this was fantastic. This follows a young girl called Amari whose brother went missing some time ago, and her brother was always pretty secretive about what he did. He was always working, but it was always very secretive. And her brother has gone missing. Amari finds a package that leads her to believe that she may be able to help find out what happened to her brother and where he could be. And that leads her to the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs. And this is where things get a little bit Men in Black. So this Bureau of Supernatural Affairs is where, like, aliens and werewolves and mermaids and everything is real. Everything is real, and the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs know everything, but they cover everything up. And she's invited to take part in some trials at the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs in order to, like, be accepted into their ranks. And there's an evil magician threatening the whole supernatural world. But for Amari, this isn't necessarily about getting a place amongst them or defeating the evil magician. It's very much about finding out what happened to her brother, where he could be, could she get him back, How is he related to all of this? Has he possibly got something to do with this evil magician? What is going on? Can she solve it? But also trial elements in here as well. So if you like books with trials, if you liked Nevermore, I very much think you will enjoy this. Similar vibes in terms of middle grades that have taken the world by storm, but also trials to get into a magical world of some sorts, and a very charismatic, very lovable main character as well. But yeah, this book took the world by storm, took me away as well, and I loved it, and I can't wait for the sequel. So yeah, the one middle grade that got 5 stars from me, Amari and the Night Brothers. And there we have it. There are my top 10 middle grades of 2021. I hope you have enjoyed. If you've read any of these, let me know down below what you thought of them as well. And if you had a number 1 middle grade of 2021, let me know what that was down below as well. But yeah, thank you ever so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please give us a thumbs up and all that jazz. But yeah, I will see you in whatever comes next. Bye!